Yo, what's going on, everybody? Hope all you guys are doing well here tonight. Welcome in to our continued deep preview of the upcoming 2025 MLB season. We are about 4 days away from the 2025 MLB season. It's just getting closer and closer and closer and closer, and man, it's just going to be fun to see all these divisions play out this year, especially this division that we are going to be previewing here tonight. But before we get into that, normally we do this on IG. We do it on StreamYard tonight and YouTube. So I guess our YouTube fans are very happy about that. But yeah, we always typically do it on IG. But for all those people that are watching this on IG, we had some technical difficulties come up, the last couple of days. Just hasn't worked out. So decided to do it on StreamYard and put it on IG. So to all of our fans watching, appreciate the viewership and appreciate everybody for tuning in. Get ready. It's going to be a blast of a show tonight, and can't wait for that. We might have some of my friends join me on the program tonight. I have sent out the link to everybody. If you want the link, feel free to comment down below wherever you're watching, whether it's on YouTube or IG, and I'll be able to send you the link and you guys can give your thoughts as well. But yeah, welcome into our 6th division in 6 days preview specials. We did the NL East a couple of nights ago. I haven't been available the last couple of nights, so we're doing the AL East tonight. We'll be doing the NL West on Tuesday night, so make sure you guys tune in for that. But folks, we're gonna go with a division tonight that it's gonna be one of the most exciting divisions, I think, in all of baseball. From top to bottom, you have a lot of these, teams that are just equally talented, equally good in the managerial department, and also are just stacked. So let's get into it now, man. But actually, before we get into it, I do want to give, a fellow Bostonian, because we are going to be talking about the Boston Red Sox. We are going to be talking about Boston. I do want to give a fellow Bostonian a shout out. My guy, Will Smith. I don't know if you can see it right here. He signed for me. I know this is a baseball show, but we got to throw some hockey in there. Went to the Sharks-Bruins game. My boy Macklin Celebrini balled out last night with his amazing passing. He was a stud last night. The Sharks beat the Bruins last night. And after the game, as usual, your boy got some amazing pictures and autographs and all that stuff. But Will Smith signed for me, signed my hand. It's funny because a lot of people were asking him to sign other stuff like posters, pictures, hockey pucks, jerseys, stuff like that. But people were asking him to sign foreheads too, so I joined in on the fun because why not? I joined in on the fun. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna ask him to sign my hand, and it's kind of wearing off a lot. But yeah, I don't know if you can see it right there. He signed my hand, so really, really appreciate you, Will, for the signature. Appreciate that a lot. Um, but yeah, I did get some amazing pictures. Boston's own Colin Graff, one of the newer Sharks, signed for, or he, took my phone. He took a selfie with him and myself. What a cool gesture. Appreciate you, Colin, man. He's going to be a special player in the NHL for so long. He was one guy that I was really, really looking forward to getting his autograph or picture, and I, accomplished the mission. And then another Bostonian, Macklin Celebrini. I mean, got another picture. He's just a super chill, super cool guy, really nice. If you ever go to a Sharks game, like he's a guy that he's gonna make time to sign for everybody. This dude was about to leave, and he felt bad that he's leaving his fans behind, leaving all the fans behind. So Macklin Celebrini, parked his car on the other side of where the players' parking lot came out, and all the fans rushed. I kid you not, they rushed across the street to go to Macklin Celebrini, and I think there was like at least 25, 30 people, and literally the guy signed for everybody. So Macklin Celebrini is not only an amazing talent on the ice, but he's also an amazing person off the ice as well. And do want to say something else about that Sharks Bruins game that I went to before we do get into baseball now, because I know everybody came for baseball. And that is the other thing I do got to say is that, look, I know my guy Ben Cruz, very upset about the Bruins play this season. I know Bruins fans all over have not been happy all year long, but just trust me on this. All you just got to do is get lucky in the lottery. That's all you got to do. I know it's easier said than done, and I get that. But look, a franchise can change just like that. It can change with just a few moves. And, I think the Bruins fans, keep your guys' head up, okay? Look, I know right now it sucks, but in the future, it's going to be well worth it that you have gone through what you have gone through, that you went through this dreadful phase, right? Trust me, the Bruins are going to be back. They're going to be back. The Bruins never get down for long and not come back. They are an amazing organization. They are an iconic organization, and then they are an organization that's going to get back. And when the Bruins are good, the NHL hockey as a whole, just like with the Pittsburgh Penguins, when the Penguins, the Bruins, all these iconic franchises, these founding franchises, when they are good, the NHL as a whole is just good. So keep your head up, Bruins fans. Get ready for the lottery. And it's going to be, keep your head up, get ready for the lottery. And, it's going to be okay. Trust me on that. And shout out my boy Will Smith for signing my hand. It is coming off a little bit. And shout out Colin Graff for, the picture, Macklin Celebrini, for the photo as well. I think we have a guest, but unfortunately, it looks like his camera is not quite loading up, so we'll give it a little bit of time. But I don't know if the guests backstage can see me right now, but let's get into the baseball talk before I continue on this hockey ramble. Great night last night, by the way. Shout out to Jonathan Goodrow for putting the Bruins to sleep and night on the Bruins. But there we are. We have him. Perfect. Just in time. Let me. Oh, did I add him to the show? Callan, do we have you? Do we have you, Callan? Looks like we might be having a little bit of technical difficulties. Do we have you, Callan? So it looks like I can hear him, but I don't think he can hear me. Callan, do I got you? We'll work on that right now. But Yeah, before I get into more of my hockey tangent, I know that was a bit of a tangent, but I had to throw that out there because look, we're talking about Boston tonight with the Red Sox. I had to throw the Bruins in, and my guy Ben Cruz might be hopping on, so I just had to, throw that in there and just give him kind of like a little uplifting pep talk. But let's get into the American League East. We have, 5 teams. This is going to be a loaded division here. Let me add Callan back. Callan, do I have you now?
Yes, you do.
Yes. Perfect. First of all, Callan, welcome to the program. I'm kind of glad you came in when you did because I avoided a potential ass chewing because we were talking about stuff that you have said not to talk about, but I just had to throw that in. But how are you doing
Isaiah,
tonight?
I've been to 800 hockey games. Just enough. You're not
But-
special.
But how are you doing, my friend? And how's the night been or the day been for you?
A lot of March Madness. That's all I can say.
Yeah, that's true. It's been a great tournament thus far. I guess I'm last right now in our little bracket group that we've got. Which
Apparently, I don't know basketball. And I'm in third.
Yeah. I don't know how I'm in last. But whatever. In my paper bracket though, it's perfect. So give me
No,
on
you
that.
picked High Point and they lost.
That's pathetic. But Callan, we talk about the American League East, and we. Sorry about that. I had some technical issues, but what a show! What a program without technical difficulties, right? But let's get into it. The American League East. This is going to be an amazing division, I tell you, man. With the Orioles who made the playoffs last year, the Yankees who made the playoffs, won the division, went to the World Series last year. The Red Sox have loaded up. The Rays are always a funky team. You never really know about them. The Blue Jays, they have Vladdy. It's a big year for them. This is going to be one of the most exciting divisions, I think, in all of baseball because any of these teams, I feel like, have a legitimate opportunity not to only win this division, but to get deep into the American League playoffs and maybe even potentially the World Series. But, Callan, this is why spring training happens because before spring training, everybody assumed the Yankees were going to win it, right? And they did last year. They're a very stacked team. But they had Garrett Cole go down with Tommy John, and now it threw the entire division into a fickle. Going over their off seasons before we get into like the actual deep preview, the Tampa Bay Rays. The Tampa Bay Rays added Danny Jansen from the Red Sox in free agency. They picked up Eloy Jimenez from the Baltimore Orioles in free agency. They traded away one of their young, talented lefties in Jeffrey Springs to the Las Vegas Sacramento Athletics. They also traded Jose Siri, very promising outfielder, to the New York Mets. For the New York Yankees, everybody knows this team is different, right? No Juan Soto. He is no longer a Yankee. He is on the other side of New York in Queens with the Mets. But the Yankees, look, they did fairly well. They picked up Paul Goldschmidt in free agency. They signed Max Fried to a monster contract. They picked up Cody Bellinger, who I think has a lot left in the tank in a trade. They got Devin Williams, star closer from the Brewers, in a trade as well. But they also lost, in addition to Soto, Nestor Cortez in a trade to the Brewers. Alex Verdugo signed with the Braves. Clay Holmes went to the Mets. Gleyber Torres went to the Tigers. Very underrated player as well. Cody Poteet was traded to the Chicago Cubs. So, and Garrett Cole obviously lost for the season based with Tommy John's surgery. The Blue Jays, unfortunately, did not really make a lot of moves. They picked up Yimi Garcia from the Mariners, free agent, hard-throwing pitcher, and Andres Jimenez in a trade with the Guardians, which was a very interesting move. But they lost Jordan Romano to the Phillies. They lost Genesis Cabrera, and they were unfortunately unable to re-sign unable to re-sign Vladimir Guerrero Jr. to an extension. So him and Bo Bichette now are slated to be free agents at the end of the season. And then the Boston Red Sox. And I hope to get my guy Ben Cruz on the program tonight. Who knows if that will happen? But the Red Sox, they picked up Alex Bregman in free agency. They got Walker Buehler. They picked up Aroldis Chapman and Liam Hendricks as well. But Callan, you look at this division. Oh, and then you have the Baltimore Orioles. The Orioles, got Kyle Gibson, so I guess that's a good move for them. They picked up this young pitcher Tomoyuki Sugano from Japan. They got Gary Sanchez from formerly of the Brewers. Tyler O'Neill, very interesting young outfielder. He signed with them, and then Charlie Morton signed with them as well. To bolster their rotation. But Callan, you look at this AL East. I just listed off all the moves each team made in free agency. With the Yankees losses, the Red Sox gains, the Blue Jays incompetency, the Rays always being funky, and then the Orioles, having this young nucleus. It's time for them to take the next step. Give us like a full preview of this division, and who do you think ultimately wins this division in a loaded AL East?
I mean, for a while I thought it was loaded, and I think you and I both agree, okay, the Yankees probably had this in the bag. Baltimore probably gets in again, but we know that they have difficulty winning in the playoffs right now. Then, kind of like in an instant, the division door was kicked down because Garrett Cole got Tommy John. The moves that they made that kind of killed the rotation in some very weird way. And then it just feels like, so now the Yanks aren't the shoe-in favorites. So now it could be Baltimore. It still could be New York. It could be, maybe the Red Sox. Maybe it could be, any of the teams. But part of me still wants to believe that this could be, or that this division, Isaiah, goes through the Yankees. I just think that they will pull some kind of early trade-off, whether that's with the Padres for Cease, whether that's for some, big name frontline starter that they, could get in a move like this, where it would kind of be like a similar type of move where, Cease signed in San Diego for the arbitration figure. Then he gets moved midseason for another haul of prospects and maybe some current major league talent, whatever the Yankees can offer. But I still think that the Yanks should be favored. Baltimore still, I think, is still number two. But then you worry about the playoff woes over the past couple seasons. Like they were division champs a couple years ago, but got swept in the DS. They got in last year. They got swept in 2 games again last year by a red hot Tigers team. Then Boston, I don't know if they did enough. I like the acquisition of Walker Buehler if he's able to stay healthy, not having to go on the shelf for too long because of, repeated Tommy Johns and arm problems. I just kind of worry a little bit. I mean, again, this is a very small one, though. But kind of, I say we've heard a lot of the bickering between Rafael Devers and Alex Bregman, because Bregman gets signed, to that 2 to 3 to 4 year contract worth a boatload of money. And then, like, right after he signs it, there's news reports of, Devers becoming disgruntled and, I don't want to do this, don't want to do that. So you hope there's no rift. And I'm sure that they probably can iron that out, or they've ironed it out, though. But I don't know if Boston still has enough currently on the roster, though I think Buehler adds a layer to the rotation. I do think that Bregman can kind of, in a way, take advantage of the green monster and the dimensions of hitting at Fenway. Asking anybody, I want to see if Tristan Casas can improve based off last season. I hope they do not get rid of Jared Duran. I thought he was very good last year as well. And then Tampa Bay, I don't know what to make of them, sadly, because
they're funky. They are like every year, like you expect them to do one thing, like whether it's be good one year and then they're really bad. Like last year, I thought they would be okay, but then they were really bad. And then the years you expect them to be decent or good or great, they suck. So it's like you really don't know about the Rays. It's like them with their front office and their moves. It's like you never know what they're gonna do. They're always, they're going out of the box, always like not by the blue. And so it's like they're the one team that I think is the most unpredictable team in all of baseball.
I agree. And then I think, Isaiah, I'll raise you that with the home game factor. There's no roof. There's no Tropicana Field. There is a single A ballpark being used. There is the reports that have come out that Stu Sternberg has walked away from deals or from the deal that was in place to either redo the ballpark or build a brand new like $1.5 billion ballpark somewhere in St. Petersburg. So you have off the field distractions, a la the Athletics. And then you worry, though, too, about the talent level. I think Wander Franco was promising. Then he has his off the field problems, which probably, Isaiah, goes to your longstanding pet peeve. You can't sign young players in baseball to these lengthy contracts because stuff like this will happen. We've seen it a couple times already around the sport as is. So you have a lot of factors with Tampa, a lot of hurdles, some in their control, some that are out of their control, like the ballpark and the political volleyball between the ownership group and the county and city council, a la the Athletics again. And then there's the Blue Jays, Isaiah, who they probably move off Vlad Jr. and Bo Bichette over the offseason or maybe in the middle of the year because of contractual demands. I think they're probably a little bit upset, though. But again, I know that you really can't plan for injuries. I think they're kind of fed up that Bo Bichette always has the knee. He's got the ankle. He's got a calf. I think they're also kind of ticked about Vlad Jr. always being injured too in some very, weird way as well. And also that, sadly, it feels like the Blue Jays walk in. I feel like, though, Isaiah, they've walked into the last couple of off seasons already wounded and hurting because, well, they missed out on Ohtani and Sasaki 2 years in a row. And they were one of the last, 3 to 5 teams left, and they were at the goal line. And both Ohtani and Sasaki said no. Now, is that because of the Canadian dollar? Is it because of, American League East? Is it because of the ballpark at Rogers Center? Is it this? Is it that? I think the Blue Jays just, they hurt for so much, though, that they've been hurting that I just don't know, though, if this really, if they have enough there. I mean, yeah, Yimi Garcia is a good pickup, and so some of the other guys, but, are they really still in their prime? Can they really still deliver? I'm not fully sure.
Well, Callan, I hate to cut you off, but I did when I was reading that offseason acquisition list off. It looks like it was outdated because I did forget Anthony Santander. It wasn't listed on the list, so I do apologize about that. But that was their big acquisition: Anthony Santander and also Jeff Hoffman as well from the Phillies.
Santander got deferred money too.
Yeah,
so that'll be interesting.
Yeah, exactly. So the Blue Jays, look, they did, like you said, they did load up with their, Vladdy and Bichette and, George. Don't forget about George Springer, but he's also got the issues that Vladdy and Bichette have, and that is he's always hurt as well, and he can't stay on the field. Do they still have Kevin Biggio, by the way? I don't know.
No, he is now, I believe, in Atlanta.
Okay, so he's not there. He's a guy that I always wish that would work out. But it looks like he just hasn't found his footing in the majors. But yeah, I think with the Blue Jays, look, I think you have a point. Like, I think when we me and Ben talked about the Blue Jays not extending Vladimir Guerrero, I said this is going to be, I think, the biggest season and the most
consequential season.
Yeah, the most consequential season in Blue Jays franchise history. Because when you think about everything going on, right? Bo Bichette's going to be a free agent at the end of the season. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is going to be a free agent at the end of the season. I think George Springer's got a couple of years left. But you look at their management. Their GM is a lame duck. Their president of baseball operations, Shapiro, he's a lame duck. And I've never really liked Shapiro and Ross Atkins in the beginning. I've always thought that they were too based on Moneyball and too penny pinching, just like they did in their days when they were running the then Cleveland Indians before they jumped over to the Blue Jays. And I have never really liked John Schneider as the manager. I thought that they had to get a young, or they had to get a guy that was experienced with an experienced team to try to win a championship. But all those three guys that we named, Shapiro, Atkins, Schneider, the brain trust of this team, they're all potential free agents at the end of the season. Calvin, when have we ever seen a GM, president of baseball ops, and the manager all the same go into a year lame duck years. I don't think we've ever seen that in my entire life watching baseball. I don't know about you, but I've never seen that before.
Yeah, it's very much, I agree, a lame duck season. It feels like for all three, and I really feel like, Isaiah, that the Blue Jays will probably be my last place team. Though I love the talent that is there, but again, it's still Toronto. Sadly, like it's just so difficult to get, like a Sasaki or a Otani to believe in going to that market, which really sucks for those Blue Jay fans who. Let's be honest. Toronto's a very great sports city in Eastern Canada between, the Jays and the Raptors and Toronto FC, the Maple Leafs. You name it, and just that you've gotten to the finish line of getting like two prized free agents, yet you can't land them because the other team that's still in the mix is the Los Angeles Dodgers. Like that really does
Right,
suck.
right.
But at the end of the day, though, I really do think that all three of those gentlemen that you just mentioned, Isaiah, they're in deep trouble. I feel like mainly if the season is off to a horrible start and if the Jays, get off to that bad start, I think that the manager is gone first. Then when the year's over, they fully clean house. I don't know about you.
No, I agree. I think that this is setting up to be a massive house cleaning in the organization. And that's why I say this is the most consequential season of the Blue Jays in their franchise history. Because if they win, let's say they make the playoffs and let's say they win a series, right? Then I think all three gentlemen get brought back. I think there's a high chance that Vlad stays in Toronto. But let's say they either go have a mediocre season and miss the playoffs, or they make the playoffs, get swept in the first round, and blow a double-digit lead like they did, in that one game. I think they blew like a 10-0 lead in one game when they played the Mariners. And then, or like you said, like last year, they have a repeat of last year. Injuries hit them like heck, and then they end up having a really bad season. Well, then all three gentlemen are going to be gone.
Agreed.
With Schneider, Shapiro, Atkins gone, goodbye. I think Vladdy is gone, Bichette is gone, and the Blue Jays is going to be a complete house cleaning from upper management, the manager in the dugout, and also the roster. Like, I think if the Blue Jays have a really bad season this year, I could see, Springer getting traded. I don't know who's going to take that contract. Bassett is a good option, in terms of pitching. I could see him being dealt. And I just think this organization is just going to completely start from scratch if they have a bad season.
I agree. I think that Toronto and Tampa probably fight for the bottom of the barrel. I really just would, really hate to see them blow that, group up of those kids that are playing in Toronto. But again, I think they have their own set of factors. Again, the Canadian dollar value is different than the American dollar value when it comes to, certain things away from baseball. And then, of course, Tampa's got the problems with the ballpark and who's even left on the team and, their future very much in jeopardy because of Stu Sternberg and the off the field problems with the county and the city and the ballpark. So I think those two are easily bottom two of the division. I still think Boston will be third because I think that there's still not quite a true game plan. Like, okay, we got Bueller, okay, we got Bregman, but now we got Bregman and Devers, bickering about who's going to play third. Like, suck it up. You guys are getting paid a lot of money. You'll be able to figure it out. So I think it boils down to the Orioles and the Yanks, Isaiah, at this rate, and I'd probably still go New York over Baltimore because you know damn well you really can't trust Baltimore come playoff time.
No, exactly. And here's the thing: is that couple questions I got to ask you before I reveal my picks is that, when you look at, like, let's start with the Red Sox. I've heard all this. I don't know. I think you probably have heard the same. The whole offseason about the Red Sox having this World Series, contending lineup. And look, it's a good lineup, right? With Duran and Trevor Story coming back. And,
Right.
you have.
If though, if he's not healthy, then it doesn't mean a damn thing.
Exactly. So you have him, you have Bregman, Devers. Like, I don't know. Have they decided where Bregman and Devers are going to play? I know Devers missed the last week of spring training, so there's his status for opening day, I think, is thrown into flux right now. But that really worries me because, like, and I did this show with Ben about the Red Sox a couple of weeks ago. Not only was and this is what I don't like about the Red Sox. It was that Devers and Bregman was bickering about the who's going to play what, and Alex Cora basically coming out and saying like when Devers said like, "Oh, I'm not going to DH or I'm not going to play first base," and then Cora comes out and says like, "Oh, all the promises made to Devers was under the previous administration," and like he mentioned Kyle Bloom by the name. Like you never see a manager throw the previous administration under the bus, which I
No,
found
you
pretty
never do.
interesting.
That's
No, you
crazy.
never do.
That's crazy that he actually even did that.
Yeah, and he mentioned him by name, which is even crazier. And then I think what was even crazier is going into spring, and I'm glad this issue is settled, but I think Jaron Duran, or it was one of the younger players, was saying something about how they're going to be in a battle for, or some of these young kids, that high prospects that Boston has, will be given a chance to win the job in spring training. And the guy basically said, I think it was their first baseman. Actually, I'm trying to remember who's their first baseman. He's like a
Tristan
younger.
Casas.
Tristan Casas, exactly. Tristan Casas came on and said that when he was asked about Christian Bethencourt, the young player that they have, that he's going to be given a job to win. And he basically came out, and I'm paraphrasing. He basically came out, Callan. I don't know if you heard this. He said that no, the young kids should stay in the minor leagues. They should not have a chance to win the job in spring training. And I never ever heard that before. It's like, what are you doing? Like, really, you're really gonna say someone is not gonna have an opportunity? A young kid is not gonna have an opportunity should not have an opportunity to win the job in spring training just because you are established. Like, give me a break, man. Like, play the best players.
Yeah, I mean, if that was the case, then I'm just thinking, last season, like say Manny Machado says Jackson Merrill does not deserve to be on the Padres roster in 2024. Okay, who was gonna play center field? Absolutely nobody. We'd have had Casper the Ghost out there. So yeah, that's why, Isaiah, that I'm very concerned about Boston, is that veterans are in a way not talking down to rooks or to rookies, but they are definitely, man, this feels a lot like the bickering Buffalo Bills in the 90s. There's a point in time where Jim Kelly and Thurman Thomas were kind of doing the same exact thing of, bitching and moaning about each other's play in the Buffalo media. And I think that Marv Levy forced him to make an apology, and it was kind of half-hearted, half-assed job. And this kind of just feels that way with, comments that were made by Tristan Casas, maybe. I think, though, Isaiah, I think I would put more of the blame, though, on Rafael Devers. Like, how dare you talk down about a two-time World Series champion coming in to sign with your organization, all because it's about your preferred position and playing time. That's why I think that Boston's going to be third, is that too many egos are clashing. And that, Isaiah, why does this kind of feel like, though, that the 25 Red Sox feel like the 24-25 76ers with Embiid and Paul George?
Yeah, no, it does. It feels like in that way that like you have these, vets not getting along. And honestly, if I was Devers, I would be happy to not play third. And the reason why, like, and I know he takes pride in that, but it's the reason why is because if you play first base or you play DH, it would lengthen your career. I feel like, Devers is an amazing offensive player. He's a guy that, puts up a lot of numbers, great numbers. And, you and I know this, Calvin, playing third, it's a volatile position. It's a hard position to play because you're always diving for balls. You're always, doing a lot of spectacular acrobatic like stuff on defense, and it definitely wears your body down. So Rafael Devers, and he's known to be a guy that doesn't really watch his diet. He's a guy that always likes to eat whatever he wants. If you want to do that, you want to go a la Pablo Sandoval, then playing first base and DH like David Ortiz,
a la Luka Doncic.
Yes, yeah, a la Luka Doncic, exactly. But yeah, like those guys, like that we name, like Ortiz. Ortiz was successful. I felt like he was great, but I felt like his career was so long because he played DH instead of having to play a field position where he just literally just stayed there and he would just hit. That's all he did, and that really lengthened his career.
Yeah, Boston's going to be, they feel like they're going to be a little bit of a circus just because of all the offseason hullabaloo going on between, Devers and Bregman, and then some of the commentary that you just rattled off, though, regarding about, just stuff that doesn't need to be in the media. Like, don't be
No,
telling the
no.
media how, your personal thoughts of who should make the roster. That's reserved for travel ball, not for the pros.
You remember when the Celtics, right? When Tatum and Brown, I don't want to switch sports, but when Tatum and Brown had those great rookie seasons, right? When Kyrie and Hayward got hurt, unfortunately, and then Kyrie and Hayward came back, and that whole year was just a disaster because you had the young kids experience success, and then they couldn't put their egos aside. They were giving less position, less playing time. The vets were coming in. It kind of reminds me of that, Callan, where it's like you got the vets, the rookies, the young players all just bickering because, of playing time and different positions and crap like that.
Yeah, I mean, and this is kind of a thing that just brings teams down, is just stuff like this where, egos clash, people's bank accounts begin clashing, and you hope that if you're a Red Sox fan that you're able to get all that sorted out and stuff, but it just still does not feel right that all this is going on.
Right, right. One question I do want to ask you about the Red Sox before I got to ask you a question about the Orioles is the bullpen. This is one of the things that worries me about the bullpen. You got two guys, very volatile pitchers, Liam Hendricks and Aroldis Chapman, that are battling it out for the closer's job there in Boston. And both of these two guys, Aroldis Chapman can one inning look absolutely incredible, like he's the greatest closer on earth. And in the next inning, this dude could look like he should be a concession stand worker, not even in the majors with how wild he is. And then Liam Hendricks coming off Tommy John. I think he has a 6 point something ERA in the spring, which, I mean, I don't really take a lot of stock in the spring, but yeah, like I think with
but you're also the same guy who said Michael King has to be in the bullpen after his first two spring outings, but yet the guy struck out 12 Atlanta hitters in game one of the playoffs last year.
Now you know why I bit my lip when those words came out of my mouth, because I knew you were gonna bring that up. But who do you think should be the closer for Boston if you're Alex Cora? Are you going with Hendricks or are you gonna roll with Chapman?
Still, I think I'd still ride with Chapman. I really do.
Even though he's super wild?
I mean, he's wild and erratic, but blind squirrel finds a nut every so often.
That is true, but I don't know. Like, I feel like both of those guys are kind of the same, where it's like you can't really expect them to come in and throw a 1-2-3 inning. That's why I'm kind of bewildered that Boston didn't re-sign Kenley Jansen, or they didn't, because he went to the Angels, right? Jansen went to the Angels. Yes. It's like you should have brought him back, or why not bring in David Robertson, a guy that's was good for Texas last year, a guy that's been in that role, done it, and he would provide stability in that spot. I feel like. Yeah,
I mean Boston, like I said, that's why I think that they're going to be a third place team. They just have so many question marks: team chemistry, team morale, bullpen, lineup. Too many hurdles to jump over, it feels like, already at this stage of the season.
No, I agree. And then going to the Orioles, let's talk about Jackson Holliday, because I feel like this kid, just like Jack Leiter, is one of the more highly pressured kids on the planet. Like, this kid was the #1 overall pick and rightfully deserved. He came up, did not really do that well in his first stint in the majors, went back down, where he couldn't hit the lick of the ball for the life of his life. His first stint in the majors, and then the second stint in the majors, he was a little bit better, made some adjustments, but there's been Orioles fans, Callan, that have said, trade him, you can get a high, established player, give up on him, or they should give him time. But unfortunately, though, this is why I feel like Jackson Holliday being on the Orioles does kind of suck, because he is unfortunately in a position like Dalton Knecht with the Lakers, where he's a young kid. He's raw. And so, but the problem is he's on a contending team who can't afford to wait for his development and to develop him. So my question to you is this: if you are the Baltimore Orioles, if you're Mike Elias, what are you doing with Jackson Holliday? Let's say Jackson Holliday has another bad year, right? First full year in the big leagues, has a bad year again, can't hit. What do you do with Jackson Holiday?
You give the kid time and you have patience. I mean, if we keep giving up on kids who have never experienced failure, we're setting them up to fail for the rest of their baseball career, or for that matter, sports career in general. Yeah, I know there's pressure being the top pick in the draft and expectations and stuff, but I mean, Baltimore's got a very good young nucleus. Rushman behind the plate is a good start. Having Jerstad being another one, and then having Jackson Holiday. Like, there's three quality kids right there on top of all the veterans they have had, like Cedric Mullins and guys like that. That adds a layer. It's more, I think, of just a matter of you need to have patience. That's why I think that baseball is so hard. You have to go through so many different levels of the game. Low A rookie ball, low A, high A, double A, triple A, and it's so hard to get up there and stay there. But I think, though, that you just have to have patience. Like, I kind of know that the Orioles feel like they're kind of in win now mode, but I mean, you're in the American League East. You got to face the Yankees, 13 times a year in that division. You got to face, some other good teams in the American League as a whole. So I just think, though, that patience is of a virtue, though I know that the Orioles have been pretty successful here recently, but I think you got to give them about, a few, at least 2 full years, and if it doesn't pan out, then you move them, but not right now.
Yeah, I think he's kind of stuck though in that lighter, situation where it's like the team just unfortunately is like way too talented to wait, and I don't know if they'll give him that time. That what worries me about this whole Jackson Holiday situation. Because if there's already rumors that they're shopping him around or trying to move him, then it's like there's fire, in that situation. And look, if they give up on Jackson Holiday, that would be a big blow to that front office, because you wouldn't have given up your number one overall pick, who you tanked for a year or for a whole season to get. And, it would be a major indictment, unfortunately, on your entire organization. So I do agree with you. I hope they have patience. I hope they don't trade him, because I think he's going to be a star, just like Jack Leiter. But, I hope he does get a chance. But Callan, did you get your pick in about who's going to win the AL East, by the way?
I'm going New York, Baltimore, Boston, and then the bottom two. It's so hard. Toronto, Tampa.
All right, for me, this is going to be a tough division. I think that the Baltimore Orioles, like you said, a lot of young players. Hope they get Holiday a chance. Starting rotation. They have a lot of injuries. I think Means is out. Kramer had Tommy John, so I don't know what's going on there. Kyle Gibson got signed there, and then they also brought in Charlie Morton, which I think is a very underrated addition. I think he's a really good pitcher, especially now he's in his 40s. Like you said, like they can't win in the playoffs, so let's see if they can get over that hurdle. The Yanks, look, I think the lineup, Callan, and you might crush me for this, but I think the lineup will be a lot better, honestly, than a lot of people anticipate. Because, yeah, they lost Juan Soto, but look, they used the money.
Also without Stanton.
They're without Stanton, but I think their lineup actually got not better, but I think they got like equally as talented players as Juan Soto is. Cody Bellinger's not Juan Soto, but here's the thing though. His swing is tailor made for Yankee Stadium with that right field porch.
Paul Goldschmidt going the other way plays well too.
Exactly. Paul Goldschmidt going to Yankee Stadium, especially him hitting the ball constantly in the right field. He's going to have a lot of balls that he hits and other ballparks that were caught. They're going to go out. So I think Bellinger, I think he's going to have a resurgent monster year. I think he hits 40 plus home runs for the Yankees this season. I think Goldschmidt, he bounces back as well. I think he's going to go at least 30, and the defense I think will be better for first base for the Yankees with, you add Goldschmidt in, you replace Rizzo. I think that's definitely a addition by subtraction. The lineup, and then you have Judge. Judge will do what he always does. I think Chisholm, honestly, Callan, should bat leadoff, and I think you and I have talked about that, about their leadoff man, because Look, right now their leadoff hitter is Austin Wells. That makes no sense whatsoever. The guy is a home run or strikeout machine. He is flat-footed. He doesn't have any speed. Like, what are you doing? Batting Austin Wells in the leadoff spot. Like, it makes no sense. If I'm the Yankees, if I'm Aaron Boone, I think the two guys that should be in the leadoff row is Volpe or Chisholm. And try to go with that. But I think Volpe is the guy that needs to have a big year because, look, this is year 3, for him. He's a very hyped up guy, very talented, but it's time to put it all together. It's a great defensive player, but the bat just hasn't been there. So he needs to have a big year. The rotation, look, I think without Cole, it's going to be a big blow. Like you mentioned, I think with them, I think they're going to trade for like a big time starting pitcher either before the season in a couple of days or during the early parts of the season because I just can't see the Yankees not doing anything. But Max Fried, Rodon, look, those are the two guys like that you can't really like rely on, unfortunately, because they've had injuries, they've been up and down. So we'll see how that goes. The bullpen, I think, will be a lot better because with Luke Weaver last year, it was just Luke Weaver or nothing. This year is Luke Weaver and Devin Williams in the 8th and the 9th. So I think it's a lot better and deeper. Boston, their rotation gives me a lot of pause because I think that their rotation, sadly, is a bunch of guys that either were great pitchers in their primes, but now are either hurt all the time or they're just not what it was. Like Walker Buehler was a great pitcher in his prime. He wasn't a great pitcher last year. He was awful until the World Series. But it's like the guy had 1 or 2 great games and that's it. So, I don't think if you're Boston, you shouldn't expect him to be an ace for you. He's probably like a quality 3rd or 4th starter. So yeah, the rotation's got a lot of question marks for me. Getting Crochet does help. I think he's going to be great for them. Their lineup, Bregman, Devers, I think their lineup will put up runs. The bullpen is what gives me cause for concern with Chapman and Hendricks. I don't trust any of those two guys. And then, like you mentioned, the Blue Jays, I think they're going to have massive changes after the season. Everybody's either on 1-year contracts or their contracts expire at the end of the season. And then they've got a lot of question marks. Bullpen. I think Jeff Hoffman's their closer, and I've seen his experiment, Callan, in Philadelphia. He's not good, dude. Like, he's very, very, like, volatile, so I can't trust him. And I don't think John Schneider is a good manager at all. So I think he's going to cost them a lot of games. And then the Rays, like we mentioned, the Rays are funky. Like, 1 year, they're great when you expect them to be bad. The next year, you expect them to be bad, they're good. So it's all based on how their young talent, I think, is going to come down. So for me, I'm going to go Yankees 1. I'm going to go Baltimore 2 because I don't trust their starting pitching. Red Sox would be 3rd in my opinion. And then I got to go with Tampa being 4th and the Blue Jays being 5th. And I think like at the end of the season, it's going to be a complete makeover of the entire organization.
You and me both agree. That's where I literally think it's going to be at this time is just can't bet against the Yanks, can't really bet against Baltimore. Boston's got too much drama for me for the time being. And then Tampa and Toronto fighting for the breadcrumbs.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Callan, we've done this on every division show, which is a sleeper team in the division and a sleeper player, not a star, to watch out for this division. For me, Callan, before I go to you, sleeper team for this division. You know what, Callan, you might be shocked with this answer, but something in my brain tells me the Tampa Bay Rays. Because for some reason, like the Rays, like we've said constantly on the show tonight, the Rays, whenever you expect them to be bad, they're good. Whenever you expect them to be good, they suck. And they're right now with the Rays, there's no expectations for them. And they've got a lot of young talent there. They've got some veterans to help, mentor and, supplement the roster. But I believe in Kevin Cash. Like, Kevin Cash is a really good manager. He always does good when he doesn't have a lot. So if I had to go with a sleeper team, I would probably go with the Rays just because I think the Rays, with no expectations, with all this young talent that's bubbling up right now, with Cash's managerial being that, managerial magician that he is, I think the Rays are going to shock people, but I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. I think they're going to shock people, and I could see them fighting with New York, Baltimore, and Boston for this division. What says you?
I'm trying to see. So Fangraphs has for projected wins New York, Boston, Baltimore, Toronto, Tampa with their projected season win-loss records. They have all 5 teams somehow finishing over 500. Sleeper team for me is probably going to be. I would probably go with you with Tampa Bay. Like this is probably you're like they're done. We don't really know what's going to happen. So yeah, give me Tampa Bay.
Yeah, I mean this. I mean this is like the Tampa Bay recipe, right? Like no expectations, we play great. Expectations, we crap the bed. So we'll see what happens with the Rays. But Callan, I'll go to you first on the next question. Before we go and go to final thoughts, and that is a sleeper player to watch out for, not like a star for for this division. With the Orioles, Rays, Yankees, Red Sox, Blue Jays. You can go with 2 players if you want, but yeah, like what is your like couples, like 1 or 2 sleeper players to watch out for in this division?
It's tough to gauge because I feel like a lot of these guys are already stars, which is kind of tough to put us into a spot here.
Do you want me to go first and
Sure,
let
go
you think
for it.
about it? All right. So for me, I got a couple. I think that for sleeper players to watch out for, like not superstars, I mean, would you consider Goldschmidt like a star right now? Or would you kind of throw him into the category where he could be a potential sleeper player? Yeah, he could be a sleeper player.
Yeah, I would think so.
Okay. So for me, I'm going to go with number 1. I'm going to go with Anthony Volpe. I think he finally lives up to the hype. I've been a big Volpe fan ever since he came up. He's been, good with the glove. It just can't hit. But, when you are in that 3rd year and you've been in the World Series, you've been in the biggest stage, like that really helps a young player out because he knows what to expect. And look, Volpe made some changes in his swing. I think in the spring, he's been more patient, which has helped him a lot. He hasn't struck out, which was his issue early on in his career with the strikeouts. I think, look, with that new swing, him being more patient, him having been on the biggest stage and having been under the most pressure, like it won't be as pressurized as it was in the World Series. I think Volpe is going to have a big year this year for the Yanks. And I could see Anthony Volpe hitting 300, maybe like, I would say like 15 homers and like 60 RBIs, but I think he's going to be like a guy that gets on base a lot, and be like that catalyst for the Yankees lineup in them scoring a lot of runs. And then I would say a couple other sleeper players that, a couple other sleeper players that I have is, I want to, Callan, I want to say that, I want to say Tristan Casas. He's a guy that I feel like has been kind of bubbling on that surface for a bit now, and it's like prime for like a breakout year. So I probably go with him, and then the other sleeper player that I'm gonna go with, is it's kind of a controversial one, but how about Luke Weaver? Or yeah, Luke Weaver. Not really controversial, but Luke Weaver, because he had a great postseason. He established himself as a Yankees closer. He's going to get a full season in that role now, and the guy's dominant and he's very, very filthy. And I expect him to have a big year. And the controversial one, Callan, Marcus Stroman, because Marcus Stroman, he's got to have a big year now. He's back in the rotation. No excuses now. Like you whined about, oh, I'm not in the rotation, so I'm going to hold out. So now with the injuries, you're back in the rotation. I think he's gonna, with motivation now, I think he's gonna have a big year.
Yeah, I could go with Stroman. I think he would probably be out to prove a point of, yeah, I may have said what I said, but it's time for me to step up and be the pitcher that everyone knows me for being in the World Baseball Classic back in 17 with the Cubs, with wherever I've been, that I need to, be my old self basically. So I think I would agree on that. I'll take Jackson Holiday to kind of be that sleeper player because
Okay.
all the pressure, top pick, what we kind of alluded to. time for him to kind of go out there and actually prove why he was that top pick.
I was thinking about picking him. He was one of the guys I was considering. And so yeah, you picked him. I like that choice a lot. Going into the comments, it's been a great show, but going into the comments, Casey King says that his sleeper player is Walker Buehler from the Boston Red Sox. He thinks that Walker Buehler will stay healthy and that Walker Buehler is going to have a great year. So Walker Buehler, that's not a bad pick, to be honest, because is he going to be at the front? No, he's not going to be the frontline guy in Boston, but hey, he's won the World Series, been on that big stage, and maybe he can go out and prove a point. But yeah, Callan, it's been a great show. Appreciate you having me, or appreciate you coming on the AL East preview special. It's definitely going to be a fun division to watch out for this upcoming season. But what are your final thoughts for tonight's show before we call it a night?
I know that we talked a little bit about baseball uniforms a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Eight teams are going to be having second City Connect designs coming up this season. Two of them have already been released, and the other 6 or 7 are still under wraps. But Arizona, Boston, White Sox, Colorado, Houston, Miami, San Francisco, and Washington will all have new designs. Astros and Nationals were just released over the last 4 days, and they both look sharp.
Do you have a picture of the Giants one? Because I'm actually going to be going to the Giants spring training game tomorrow night at Oracle Park. And it's funny because they're not facing the A's for the first time. They're facing the Detroit Tigers, which is like a very weird matchup. But have the Giants released theirs yet or not yet?
Not yet. The official announcement from the team says that there will be some changes to the current version of the City Connect of the white jersey with the fog style lettering and the orange hat with the Golden Gate Bridge on the side of it, and same with the batting helmets.
Oh, wow. Looking forward to that. But also, KC said that his pick is the Orioles, the Yankees, the Red Sox, and then you have the Rays and the Jays vying for, the bottom of that division. So same like us, and then Tampa Bay as a sleeper team. But yeah, Callan, I would say looking forward to those uniforms. But my final thoughts is I'm looking forward to going to the Giants game tomorrow. I mean, they're playing Detroit, Callan. Can you believe that? They're playing Detroit. It's like such a weird spring training. I don't know if the Padres do this, but I know the Giants always do 2 or 3 spring training matchups in the Bay. But yeah, they're playing Detroit. It's a weird showdown. I don't know who picked that matchup, but I'm looking forward to going to that. And yeah, man, that AL East is going to be very, very fun to watch. And Ben, keep your head up about the Bruins. They're going to be fine.
Yeah, that is weird that they're playing the Tigers and not like the Mariners or anyone else. That is kind of odd. But with the A's not being there anymore, or not the A's, or maybe that they just didn't want to play the Athletics. They literally played the Sacramento River Cats tonight and they lost. That's pretty funny too. But no, the Padres used to do that, but now they don't do that too much. They used to do 2 games with the Angels, so the Angels chose to play the Dodgers instead for whatever the reasons were at one point in time. But the Padres do win with the Mariners in Peoria tomorrow before they come home to open up their season on Thursday. So, yeah, the 2 City Connects look nice that have been dropped for this season with Houston and the Nationals. But nope, looking forward to the season finally getting underway. And yeah, I would like the Padres to play at home with the Angels or Mariners or some team for spring training at Petco Park again, like they used to do at one point in time.
Yeah, man, that's going to be interesting to see. And looking forward to the Astros and the Nationals uniforms. I know the Astros went with the navy blue, the spaceship one a couple of years back.
Well, I can tell you what they did. I can't put an image up, but they are doing a white uniform with blue letters, and they are bringing the 1990, late 90s era shooting star that was on their road uniforms back with the name of Strohs in blue lettering with an orange shooting star across it. The trim on the sleeves comes back from last year's design that has the Nolan Ryan era tequila / rainbow gut pattern. There's a new lunar pattern pinstripe on the pants that pays tribute to the moon landing. They're also debuting a new hat, which features a white front with a navy blue back, and a shooting star logo from the '90s is also back in the form of A for Astros. They have a new sleeve patch that also includes another star logo in the form of the letter A again, and also a tribute to the old Union Station train depot where the ballpark was built. The belt loop has a HTX for Houston, Texas, and the socks appear to be a orange and yellow combo, which is supposed to simulate the fire from the rocket boosters when the rocket ship takes off. The Nationals are doing a light blue jersey this season, which features a road out like a map outline of DC and a interlock DC on the chest, which is meant to resemble the block letter W era by the 1956 Washington Senators from way back in the day. The cap and shoulder patches features a block letter W with an outline of the Capitol building and two cherry blossoms in honor of the previous City Connect on top of DC's ever famous cherry blossoms. And then those teams that are going to be
Wow.
dropping, the other teams that will have new designs will be the Diamondbacks, Red Sox, White Sox, Rockies, Astros, Marlins, and Giants. And the Nationals and the Padres will have their new design in 2026 for anyone who's keeping tabs on that.
All right, that sounds good, and I'm looking forward to them being released. Callan, before we sign off for tonight, any like programming announcements that you wanted to make on air, like whether it's your new radio station that you have, or any coast to coast stuff, like whatever you have, just throw it out there.
Yeah, we're doing a lot of March Madness talk on Coast to Coast right now, and that's all we're really doing at this rate until the tournament concludes. We are trying to put together like a watch along for the national title game in early April on C2C, which will be cool. One closing thought as well, Isaiah. I don't think I've asked your overall thoughts on the testing for the ABS system so far in spring training.
I like it. I like, and I went to the one of the games the Rangers played the D-backs, and there were I think like 3 times that it was used. And look, it was very, very fast. The umpire made the call, the player challenged it, the batter challenged it, and then it literally came out like 30 seconds after the player challenged the call. So I thought it was very efficient. It was very fast. My only concern though, Callan, is look, I think MLB's obviously I think they're going to put a limit on how many times you can challenge
Yeah,
because.
the limit was 2 times per game.
Oh, good, good. Because my
And
biggest concern.
if you won the challenge, you kept it, but if you lost it, you lost it.
Okay, good, good. Because I was worried. My biggest concern going into spring was like, I didn't know how it was going to work. I thought you could challenge every pitch. And I thought, like, look, people are going to do, like, they're going to abuse it where you're going to be able to, you're just going to challenge it just for the heck of it. So the fact that it's only 2 per game, I think it's great because, if you were challenging every pitch, it would literally be like 6 hours of baseball that you would have to watch. So I think it's very fast. I think it's very efficient. I think that look, it gets the calls right, which is what we want. We want to get the calls right at the end of the day. But the only problem that I have though, Callan, is kind of what Max Scherzer said, which is like it does remove the old school feeling of baseball where you're not going to have managers arguing and getting tossed for arguing balls and strikes anymore, which some of them, let's face it, was very, very entertaining.
Yeah, that is true, but I also think that just with the emphasis of where the game is going, of Isaiah, we always would bitch about it, oh, games are too long, and stuff like that. And then and then with what they've done though over the last several years, with the pitch clock and this and that, like I get that feeling though, but at the end of the day, it's still baseball. Like they haven't changed how the game's played. They may have tweaked a couple things with, okay, only 2 throws to first base. If you can't get him out, it's a balk. You know, the bases being a little bit bigger so guys the stolen base can come back into the game and guys don't hopefully hurt themselves with the bases being a little bit bigger. Then we have the testing of the ABS system and then the pitch clock. Like, oh, what are we doing here? Like, well, if you're cutting half an hour down of a baseball game, I think you're going to be just fine.
No, for sure. Yeah, like you don't want like a long ass game, but hey, if it's all about getting the calls right, look, I'm all for it. Because look, the thing that I remember the most, Callan, and it's sadly affected my boy Wyatt Langford, and I think you probably remember this. You remember when Angel Hernandez called those 3 strike calls on Wyatt Langford when it was the Rangers versus Astros, and those pitches were like 9 or 10 feet off the plate,
Oh
and
yeah.
it was like no way in hell was those strikes. Like
Maybe it's a good thing that they brought it in because that forced Angel Hernandez to finally retire.
yeah, that's true. That's true. But Callan, you mentioned Peoria earlier. I just gotta say this to you. I visited Peoria a couple of weeks ago, and look, nothing has happened. All but good news has come in from Peoria. So it looks like the guard has changed.
Please tell that to you, Darvish, who's on the IL with a bad arm.
I was just gonna say the jinx has been, evaporated, but unfortunately not. But look, it's been a great show. I am planning on doing because we are, time is of the essence. We are like kind of running a little bit low on time here. I am planning on doing 2 divisions tomorrow to try to squeeze it in before I go to the game. So, I'm thinking of maybe like 2 p.m. Pacific time about doing a couple of the divisions. I'll let you guys know what divisions we're going to be doing. I'm going to be using a randomizer to determine that. So make sure you guys tune in for that. We're going to be doing 2 divisions tomorrow and previewing that for 6 divisions in 6 days. And yeah, we're going to do a baseball preview show this upcoming Wednesday. So if you want to join, feel free to join that baseball preview show or preview like the entire season, give our predictions for everything, and should be a lot of fun. But yeah, man, that's all I have to say. Do you got any more things to say before we for sure close out the night?
I think that's everything.
All right, guys, it's been a great show. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. Go check out Callan's new station as well as Coast to Coast and MI6 and IM6. But yeah, this is 6 divisions in 6 days, and this was the AL East. And hope you guys enjoyed the show. And we will see you again tomorrow afternoon for another, this time 2 divisions. Have a great night, everybody.